So I want to, in this video, offer you a metaphor that will represent you internally, your energetic body. When I work with people, I am always connecting into what they look like energetically. I feel energy, I hear energy, we are made entirely of energy. And as I'm creating this learning library for you so that you can begin to acquire tools to work within your own energetic system, I think it's really important to be able to see yourself energetically as I do. So let's dive into your body, put your energetic goggles on, and I want you to go right into the middle of your whole system. In the middle, there's a river. It's an energetic river. I call this the central channel, but for the sake of this video, we'll call it your river. Now, in this river are it feeds everything in your body. The river feeds your cells. Along the way of this river, there are energy centers. And inside of your body, there are 6 energy centers. And think of those as just these beautiful swellings where the river feeds into each center. And then at that center, your body is fed. Every nerve branches off from this energy center, and those nerves then feed your cells. So you get fed from the middle of this river. Now, if you go all the way down through your pelvis, you continue on down and you get into the earth. The earth feeds the river from under you, and the earth energies are the energies that grow you, that heal you, that love you, that hold you, that breathe you. When you continue all the way up through the middle of your body to the very top of your head, the river continues all the way up into the sky. And there, the energies come back down from source. These are the divine intelligence energies that mold you, that offer your body the form. So both ends of this river are open and are being continually fed. One side is connected to the earth, the other side is connected to source, and both are beautifully balanced inside of your body that are creating you, forming you, healing you, and they are continuous throughout the course of your life from the moment of your conception until the moment of your death. So here's the next part of your system, and we're going to add just one layer of complexity. You are designed to house tremendous amounts of energy in varying frequencies. The events that happen in your life are all energetic experiences that your body absorbs into the river. If the experience is pleasurable and you receive it wide open, that energy then comes in and it gets integrated into your body as a memory, as a beautiful experience, and then you learn from that. That's how we acquire our knowledge. But when the experience is not exactly pleasurable, meaning it's traumatic in some way, or the energy comes in just so fast, it's just this huge experience, the body will take in what it can energetically, flush the rest of that energy through the river, and it will actually create a reserve. If there's any part of the energy that wasn't able to get fully processed in that moment, it will create a boulder somewhere off of the edge of that river, okay? So let's just take the experience of you as a baby. And maybe you were born into a family with parents that were not really happy. They weren't in a nourishing love relationship, and then they ended up getting divorced. So you as a baby learned that love wasn't sustainable. Now that's a big, huge experience. It's very traumatic. And we all come here initially as these beings that know only unconditional love. But if we're given the experience of love not being unconditional, but in fact it's conditional, we then create a boulder of dense energy. That's a wound. And we learn at a very young age energetically not to trust love. Love is conditional and it ends. I had this experience when I was 4. My father suddenly passed away. And so as a 4-year-old who didn't understand death, all that I knew was that I couldn't trust love, that love goes away, that my beloved father was there one moment and then he was gone. That created a tremendous amount of differing boulders. I felt abandoned. That's one boulder in my river. I felt that I couldn't trust love, that people would just go away. I became very fearful as a child because I didn't know that I was safe. And so my foundation was disturbed on a deep, deep, deep level as a result of this death in my life. Now, I went into counseling. I went into all kinds of, I received all kinds of support as a child. And my remaining parent was loving and nurturing. And, I had this beautiful upbringing in other ways. But the trauma stayed within my body. So the metaphor is there are these boulders that remained in my body that were just kind of tucked off from this river that runs through me. And through the course of my life, I started to show signs that there were these boulders in my stream. I personally started getting into relationships, but I didn't feel safe in those relationships, meaning I loved these people, but I wasn't able to open up fully to the experience of love because I felt that that person would leave just as my dad did. So what ends up happening is these boulders create an influence on all of our future experiences. The reason I'm going into this is because these boulders are designed for us to return back to at some point in our life when we are able to. And as a 4-year-old, I wasn't ready. So I just carried the trauma in the form of an energetic boulder somewhere in my body throughout my whole life. Now as an adult, I have tools, and I want to go into how we dissolve these boulders in the second part of this video. So here you are, you're this beautiful being, you have this huge river, and the river is continually being fed internally by internal input. So the earth energies rise up, feed every energy center, goes into every nerve, every vessel, every cell, every tissue, and all the way up at the top through the very top of your head, you have these other energies pouring down, continuously offering your body that divine intelligence to form new tissues. Your body gets reborn every so often. Every single cell in your body dies and then is regenerated by this continually pulsing river of energy that runs through you. But these boulders remain. The way these boulders are designed is for us, you as a sovereign being, to go back in, to take your attention, take your breath, take your focus, and move yourself, your energetic perception, into the middle of the river. The first step is that we have to connect back in to the earth, because the more boulders we have in our stream, the more our system gets really wobbly, and then all of a sudden we don't feel safe, we don't feel held, we don't feel loved, we feel isolated and alone, lonely and sad and anxious. These are some of the symptoms that happen as a result of having boulders in your river, and as a result of having the boulders in your river, we then get sectioned off from the openness of the channel that connects us back into earth. We're always being fed. We're always receiving energy for the body, for the vital functioning of the body. So I just want to make it clear that you're never completely disconnected from this river that comes up of energy from the earth or from source. But what does happen is the river becomes narrowed. It becomes less potent, or it's not flowing with clarity because the energy runs and hits up against the boulder, and then we get turbulent flow. So the water of the river gets murky. It becomes a bit turbulent, like white water. So our inner river is what offers us the clarity, the perception of what's actually happening outside of our bodies. When our river has turbulent flow, we don't see the outer world very clearly. Things might look threatening to us. We might be really fearful in our lives. We might feel very victimized by events. We may have a really hard time with love relationships and feel very alone and victimized as a result of that, or really powerless. But here's the design. Your body only wants you to be the loving parent or to be lovingly residing within the river, opening back up again the channel that connects you back into the earth. And so the tools that I offer are to go into the body by closing your eyes and connecting into that river inside of you. I almost always start by having a connection to the fourth energy center, which is that which makes up your heart, because that's the largest electromagnetic center in the body. And by tuning into the frequencies of love, there's safety that comes as a result of that. We are made of love entirely, but the more boulders we have in our stream, the more turbulent flow we have inside of us, and the less we feel the truth of that. So the very first step is connecting into the heart so that you can be reminded of what it feels like, what that energy of love feels like. The second we tune into the river and go into the energy center of each part of our body, we can feel the magnetism of it. So love is the ultimate solvent for anything. Love is what dissolves these boulders. So when we connect first into the love inside of our own heart, the next step then is to actually go down to the first energy center, which is the one that keeps you from being fed fully by the energies of the earth. So when you connect into the root center, your first energy center, the tool is to see it, feel it, breathe it. I use my hands to move the energy of density, the boulders, out from each center. When I go in, I am literally becoming a part of that river and going into the energy center at that level. When we reside within our body in this way, first of all, because we're made of energy, when we see inside of our bodies, just by creating the visualization, we actually bring more healing energy there just by seeing it. So going down into the first energy center, we actually see that center. It's a different sight. We're not looking at it as we're using our outer sense of sight, but there's an inner vision that starts to come in. It's a very difficult concept in the beginning, but it's an imagination that you're using. Your mind literally moves energy in your imagination. Imagination is real. Energy is real. If you think it's real, it is. So when we move our attention into the body responds energetically. So you going down to your first energy center and start breathing there, that opens it up. The breathing, your perception of breathing, now we're not talking about air, we're talking about energy. We breathe energy into our bodies. So going down into that first energy center found at the very base of your pelvis literally breathes it into an opened place. Now we can connect into the earth. So seeing yourself, that river, breathing open, all of a sudden you're connecting into the source of energy rising up through your river. And now we can get into these parts of your body that have been sectioned off, that have formed energetic boulders. And when we go in this way, we match the river, the energy that comes up. It will actually be the only way that we can approach the boulder, because inside the boulder is this beautiful center. The center of every single boulder is love. That's the magic of each boulder. When we connect the frequencies of earth into our river and approach each boulder with the frequency of the earth love, we hold the boulder in that balanced place and go into the middle of each boulder when we can feel it. And this is basically, a boulder is unfelt emotion, okay? So let's go into that for just a moment. When we are young, I'll take the same example that I used as I shared in the beginning. So when I was young and my father passed away suddenly, I felt abandoned. I felt really lonely. I felt scared. I felt unsafe. Okay, so that created a lot of different boulders in my stream with different frequencies. But the most important thing to remember is that inside of each boulder is the instructions, love energy. And when we connect back into it, when we can feel into that boulder and go beyond the wounding, into the middle of it and see the love that sits in the middle. Feel the love that sits in the middle of each boulder and breathe into that space, the boulder dissolves. Now, how do we know where the boulders are? This brings in a bigger concept, and I'm just going to introduce it, and that is we get triggered. So when we're living in our adult life, let's say we're in an experience with somebody else and we're having a relationship, and we all of a sudden realize the relationship is no longer working because we're getting triggered by that person. They're triggering us to feel unsafe. They're triggering us to feel unloved. They're triggering us to feel alone. It's not the other person. It's the energy that sits in the boulder from my inner wounding. I'm feeling this way. Now, I like to blame other people because that's easier. We've been taught to blame other people. It's never the other person. We experience outer events that magnify the boulders in our stream. So when we can know this, when we do know this, now we can remember, oh my goodness, this particular conversation that I had with this person that was triggering for me created a feeling in my body. I feel alone. Now, when you actually go into your body and locate the feeling, it is actually to be found somewhere in your energetic system. Most often, it's found in the third energetic center. That's the feeling center, and that's your solar plexus, located in the upper abdominal region, so right at the top of your abdomen. So when we feel triggered, the tool is to go into the middle of your river. Connect yourself all the way back down by first tuning into love, then going down to the root center, the first energy center, to open up the floodgates so that the energy from the earth can come up. She is the one that heals us, and harnessing those energies will bring us right up to the edge of the boulder. So in this case, we have to work methodically, and there's many tools I have to offer you. But when we go back up into the third energy center where you felt the trigger, where you felt the loneliness, where you felt those feelings of abandonment that arose as a result of the conversation you had with your loved one, for example, now we have access to the boulder and we go into the feeling. We breathe into the feeling, and it can feel very physical. It can feel like a deep, dull, achy pain. It can feel like nausea. It can feel like anxiety. It can feel like you not being able to take a deep breath. Our bodies are constantly showing us where these boulders in our river are to be found. But here's the hard part. Now, the tool set is yours. You were born with this tool set. The tool set is you connecting back into the earth, connecting the earth energies back into your river, and letting the energies of the earth feed the river and guide you to where the boulder is. Once you get to the boulder, it's so important that you sit with it, that you breathe with it, that you love it, that you remember that it's made of love on the inside. And so many of us get repelled by these boulders. Now, here's what happens. When we don't access the boulder and work to connect that boulder back into the frequency of love, which dissolves it, we bounce right off of it. There's only one way into the boulder, and that is from within your system, within the river. We ride the energies of the earth to the boulder, and then we breathe it. And that brings the love of earth, combines that with the love of your own being, presence, breath, and then the energy on the inside of each boulder, which is just that of love, matches the energy outside the boulder, which is that of love, and the outer cortex of that boulder, which is the unprocessed feelings and emotions from your youth, dissolve. That's how we do this work. But we've also been taught other ways to medicate the boulder, let's just say, okay? Now, let's just say that we are feeling really upset by something. We are in a breakup. We're feeling really lonely and really abandoned. Another way to feed this river, okay, is from the outside. So we can get external inputs to this river as well. And so that can come in the form of maybe we jump into another relationship and the river rises again. It obscures the boulder. We don't feel the abandonment. We don't feel the loneliness because now we're getting fed externally. Our river is actually getting fed externally. But the challenge is, now there are many things that feed this river from the outside. Chocolate, for example, can feed the river from the outside. Exercise can feed the river from the outside. We get to fill back up again, either internally or externally. The key here, though, is that we can't regulate the energy from the outside. We actually flood the river. When we get into another relationship, we get into the infatuation of lust, of love, of passion, of newness. But if we still have the boulder inside of us, eventually that new lover is going to trigger us and that boulder is going to emerge. And then what do? We maybe have to break up with that person and find another person to rise those rivers again. We become dependent upon external influences to obscure where the boulders lie. The boulders only want our presence, only want our love. The only way to heal is to dive into the center of every boulder. And the only way to dive into the center of the boulder is by going into it from within. When we connect in, now that you know that there's this river inside of you that can be fed from the external or the internal, we have to remember that the external sources are finite, are conditional. They begin and they end, and then we need more of them to feed the river in the same way, and we don't regulate it very well. The river gets flooded. When we're connected into our own internal input, when we're connected into the energies of earth, when we get into our body, when we connect into the energies that come down from source, now we're in balance. We're in harmony with ourselves. We're in harmony with nature. And then everything quiets down so that we can actually connect in with the boulders when they arise. So now when we're triggered by that experience, we remember, I'm the one who is sovereign. I'm the one who's here to heal. I'm the one who can dissolve these boulders and nobody else. It's not anyone else's job. It's not a doctor's job. It's not the influence that we get from reading a self-help book or going to counseling or connecting with a friend. Whatever it is that we're reaching for from outside of us is not going to allow us the same healing. It can soothe the boulder. It can debulk the boulder. It can take away layers from the boulder, but the core of the boulder will remain. And oftentimes it will continue to accumulate new densities, new bulk, because we're always given experiences to help us to get into the center of the boulder. It's our choice. So it's so big. What I'm bringing in, this concept that I'm bringing in is so big. And the point is that we are designed to do the work. We are the ones, nobody else. We can have incredible support. We can have incredible love coming from our families. But until we dive into our own river, open it up again to be regulated, to be loved, but to be healed, to be nourished by the energies of the earth and the energies from source, and then work diligently, meaning on a daily basis, to feel ourselves, to know that any reactivity that we have from anybody else has nothing to do with them. There is no outer event that is the fault of the outer event. Anything that happens in our lives is here to guide us back in so that we do our works, that we get into the middle of that unprocessed energy that's created the boulder, because the unprocessed energy holds vital information for your evolution. When we heal these boulders, we become whole again, emotionally and physically. Our physical symptoms dissolve, our emotional symptoms dissolve, and what we're left with is a body that feels opened, expanded, connected, able, vital, energized, and emotions that run through us without getting stuck. I'm offering all this to you because it's so important that you get to see yourself energetically. Now, I know that these concepts can be kind of big. And so what I've done with my beautiful partner, Claire, is I've created a 5-week program. We're launching this program at the end of this month on February 27th, and it will run until April 1st. She is an emotional alchemist. She is a master of feeling emotions and guiding you back in so that you have a safe place in which to feel. I am an energetic osteopath, meaning I am the one who can feel your river and feel where those boulders are and guide you in, connecting us both back into source. I don't own the healing that comes through me. It just channels right through me. And my gift is to see it, to feel it, and to create a framework so that you can actually be the one to access it. When we connect in with the emotions and the physical energetics and we bring those back together again, you receive a skill set that is complete. Now you can feel your feelings in a place that feels loving and whole and safe, and have a framework, a river that's open and flowing again. One without the other is not complete. There's the emotional healing and the physical energetic healing. And when we bring those two together, we have the program that we are offering you at the end of this month, which is your Bridge to Energetic Self-Healing, Level 1. And it's a prerequisite to every future program that we're bringing forward, which are many. So I will link the program at the end of this video so that you'll have access to it and you can find out more information about what we're bringing, regardless of whether you feel called to join a big experience at this point, because it is a big experience. This is a 5-week healing immersion that we're bringing through. We want you to have the tools that we have. We have been honing these tools in our relationship, and we've been honing these tools within ourselves now for about a year, actually. Previously, I was teaching just the energetics. I was teaching people how to access their energetic system and move energies through. And until I met Claire, I didn't realize that I was actually bypassing around my own emotions. So she brought me to this awareness that these emotional boulders have been sitting in my body all this time. So that's why I'm so clear seeing now, because I've actually been able to do so much of this work. I am not done. This work is ongoing, but the tool set continues to offer me the access to these boulders so that I know that whenever I'm triggered, it's a tremendous gift. And I have the tools to go in and move the energy through those boulders. I've changed so much, and no longer do I bypass around it. When I feel something, I go in. It's not easy, this work. It's really challenging. And so the fact that we are coming together as a community is essential. This is supposed to be done with others to help us, to hold us, to guide us so that we can hold ourselves in the most loving, spacious, and unconditional ways. So whether you come to this program or a future program that we'll launch in the summertime, we'll be running more of these level 1s, but we would love to have you finally step into yourself, and we will guide you there. It is so important for you to do this work now. So sending you all so much love. Until next time.